Okay, good morning.
Morning.
I think we're ready. And this is the second organizing panel, and this is the second installment from yesterday. We have our dynamic presenters, Cecilia Pagan and Liz Ross. And I'm going to start off with Cecilia's bio. She's a 41-year-old single mom who returned to college to get an accounting degree and a COPA certification. She is currently the president of Secular Humanist Association at the University of Puerto Rico, which works on and off campus with other organizations such as the Secular Student Alliance, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, and the Secular Humanists of Puerto Rico to educate the community and defend the separation of church and state, as well as provide a safe and inclusive place for secular students and employees. They've also worked with Atheists of Puerto Rico to provide humanitarian help around the island. And welcome, Cecilia.
Thank you.
And Liz Ross is a Black Skeptics Los Angeles member. She joined in 2012. BSLA provides a space for Black secular humanists to participate in secular community organizing, outreach, and social justice initiatives such as their First in the Family scholarships for at-risk youth of color. She's going to talk extensively about that this morning. She's a former police officer turned criminal justice reform advocate. She raises awareness about the history and problem of our criminal justice system through presentations and volunteering of organizations that work to counter its negative impact. Organizations like the aforementioned BSLA and a New Way of Life Reentry Project. Liz is also a food justice advocate and co-founder of Vegan Advocacy Initiative, an animal welfare and food justice organization. VAI organized the first of its kind conferences entitled People of Color, Animal Rights, and Food Justice Conference to address the need for vegan activists of color to create their own spaces to talk about their work, engage, motivate, and network. Her organization also participates in edible garden projects and offers presentations to raise awareness about how our food choices impact human health, animals, and our environment. Liz studied ecological horticulture and food justice on a 30-acre farm at UC Santa Cruz Center for Agroecology and Sustainable Food Systems. She studied permaculture design at the Occidental Arts and Ecology Center and holds a BS degree from James Madison University. So welcome, Liz and Cecilia.
Thank you.
Take it away.
Okay, good morning, and thank you for being here. We're going to be talking about secular organizing. It sounds complicated, and it is. It is because we take our time, rest time, we take family time off to do this. But it's so rewarding and it's so necessary. What we do back home is let the secular and the non-believer community, inside and outside college, let know that we exist. The first time I was doing tutoring, I wasn't even a student. I was helping a student association in my hometown to carry the tables and the chairs. And then this young boy looked at me, looked at the flyers, and said, "Oh wow, I knew I wasn't the only one." And to me, it was surprising because I was at the university with a friend. She was doing a French rehearsal. And at the end, I looked at the bulletin board inside college and I read secular something. And I said, "What? Secular? Let me get that information." So I went down and took a picture of the bulletin. It had the information. It read Secular Humanist Association. It's a student association. And it had the information there, the email and stuff. But since I was not a student, I couldn't get in the groups or anything they had. But looking into it, I found the Secular Humanists of Puerto Rico. So I got connected with them, but they are 2.5 hours away from me. So I started chatting with them and stuff, but I was still in the closet. So I couldn't even like their stuff because somebody might notice. And After that, the Hurricane Maria came, and things got really bad, and I decided to go back to college, and then I got into the group. We had this thing, and I got introduced, and I saw that out of 238 members they had, only 2 were working. The gatherings were maybe 7 people, and everybody said, yes, I'm going to be there, but you know, only 2 people were carrying all the stuff and the chairs and the permits and everything. So I decided to get like really into it, and I decided to get out of the closet, because it's really hard to, you know, to help someone that's doing that job being in the closet. So I decided to get out of the closet and give it all I had. Last year I became the president because it was a rule that the same person couldn't be the president for more than 2 years. And the founder and the then president, Gerardo Rivera, who was now he's 21, but he was a 19-year-old student who wanted to get together with people like him. So he didn't even knew what he was creating. He was like creating a friendship club, which he was creating something so much bigger. And I became the president, and I changed the rule last year also, because I think that it doesn't matter if the president is the same person, because sometimes there are people willing to help you, but are not willing to take that responsibility. So I changed the rule, and I hopefully next year he'll be the president. Okay. I wanted to follow this, but I never do. But I'm gonna go back to it because I wanna go back to some things. And I hate when people feel the need to hide and even pretend they are religious because of fear of losing the job, losing friends and family. That should not happen. I came to realize a few months ago that even harder to get out of the atheist closet and than anything else, anything I've seen. And you can be a murderer, but if you ask for forgiveness, the victim's brother would come and hug you in the heart.
Yeah.
How fucked up is that? I couldn't believe it. It was, okay, he's going through a process. And I was being an apologist myself. I mean, he is so brainwashed that I couldn't believe it. And it was, even the judge was like, oh, poor girl. Well, that's what I got back home. I was always I don't know, I was in church since I can remember. And when I was 5 and somebody told me this story about when God messed up and got everyone drowned, I was, what? That's not my God. How can that all-powerful, all-knowing being messed up and kill the kids in wheelchair and sick people and all the puppies? So I had nightmares for a week. And right then, I think that religion was done with me. I keep on going to church, but then when I was maybe 7 or 8, I started getting my mom's Bible. I had to take it without her noticing because that was a sacred thing. You cannot even open it. So I would take it to my room and hide and then start reading and then, what? This is fucked up. So I would go back to church and start asking things. So they would look at me like, sometimes ignore what I was asking, because they only wanted you to know what they wanted you to know. You know, they didn't wanted questions, and sometimes they didn't even have the answers to my stuff. When I was gonna do the communion, I said I didn't need it, or why would I have to confess myself to another human being? You're no different than me. So they brought another person from another town, and that person told me, well, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna go to that corner, and you're gonna have a conversation with God, and then you're gonna think for yourself what your punishment is gonna be, and you're gonna do it. And it was fine with me, because I was like 9. After that, I said to my mom, I don't want to go back to church, because she will send me to church, but she will never go. Like she was doing what you're supposed to do, like sending your kids to the church. So she started bragging, no, you need to finish the sacraments, because then if you want to get married, and if you want to baptize your kids, and whatever excuse she gave me, then I started reading more and more and giving her my questions. Well, she didn't have any answers, like, I don't know. And well, that was a book reading a really long time ago, and things about like slavery and women treatment. She was like, I don't have the answer. And then they don't have the answer either. So I finished my thing, and right after it, I said, I'm never coming back. Because I got tired of the hypocrisy. And inside the church, I had this thing all of the time. Me and my best friend, we will hear somebody say that being a homosexual was the worst thing that could happen to you. And I would look into him, he's gay, and I said, what the fuck are we doing here? Why are we letting ourselves hear that thing? So I started going to church, and then I noticed that I wasn't allowed to go to my friend's house. And she was crying all of the time because she felt the need to get me back. She felt the need that she needed like to save me. So since I wasn't welcome anymore in birthdays and in my friend's house, I started going to the next town, which was my grandmother. So I arranged for myself like another life outside school. And then until recently, I was like an agnostic, because I never really looked into it, or I don't know, I thought it doesn't has to do anything with me. And I was so wrong. Because even in my country, they even pass laws about what they believe should be. And right now they are trying to mess with abortion and reproductive rights, and that is really big for me, well, for everyone. So what I want to ask you is that everyone you know can help. Not only with money, but also with time, with skills, with ideas.
Let Liz.
To ask?
No, we had to let Liz talk.
Oh, we have 15 minutes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because we got 20 minutes, so.
Okay.
Sorry.
And,
Oh, so we don't have a full hour to talk then?
No, because the morning's gone over.
All right.
Oh, okay. And you can still be anonymous. You don't have to appear in pictures or anything like that. You can contribute in any way you can. And look for an organization near you and help them. And we need to speak and be visible, because we need to encourage and support others to get out of the closet and normalize atheism. Thank you.
So, since we're pressed for time, again, I gotta, I'll see if I can try to get as much as I can in. I was hoping we can have a little more time for discussion, maybe we can. Cancel. Okay. So I wanted to get into first the why and then the what, and then hopefully give some tips on organizing. So I became an atheist about 20 years ago. Two things basically sort of fueled my inquiry and research, and that was one, of course, reconciling the conflict between pain and suffering and an omnipresent, omniscient God, which obviously was a contradiction, and of course exploring sexual expression, two big things in the Christian community that I needed to explore. And I would say that the two most influential writers for me at that time was Richard Dawkins, of course, and Bart Ehrman, who was a professor in theology. And I have to say that these two men and others prepared me for rebutting issues about the debate of whether God exists. And that was great. What I found was issues around church and state and the God debate was great, but I needed to go further than that, which I would say, which is most of what this conference is about. And that was why I became drawn to Sikivu Hutchinson's work, because she engaged in the ongoing critical analysis of popular culture, of politics, of current events, through a secular humanist lens as it relates to white supremacist capitalist patriarchy, from the perspective of a black feminist woman. And at that time, in about 2007, 2008, Sikivu was the only black woman I saw on social media. And the only person I saw actually talking about the intersection between the inequities of religion and also the broader society that we lived in. So that was very stimulating, and that kind of work to me was stimulating, and it was the continuation of the critical thinking and self-evaluation that I was already working on prior to coming to LA. As we know, the desire for fairness and injustice does not require an invisible entity. We can be good without God. When I came to Los Angeles, I joined Black Skeptics LA in 2011 through meetup.com, and also because through meetup.com I noticed that Sikivu was actually running that organization, so I was really excited to be part of that. Little did Sikivu know that I was this secret fan of hers. And I didn't actually say anything. And prior to that also, while she was working on her book, Moral Combat, she sent out a questionnaire because I was on her email list, and I actually was quoted in her book, so I was excited about that as well. I actually didn't find that out until later when I went to LA.
Page number?
Page number 248. So look it up. And what I liked about that book, which is what we actually explored in Black Skeptics LA, is that I was born in the Caribbean, in Trinidad, but that book actually spoke about black women, whether you were from the Caribbean or whether you're from the US. I mean, my mother was what she was talking about, the life. Women was what she was talking about. So I think it's applicable to the diaspora. So BSLA was founded by Sikivu in March of 2011. Her intention was to create a space for black folks who identify as atheists, agnostics, free thinkers, and secular humanists to facilitate the need to have that interpersonal connection, that person-to-person connection that we weren't getting, although social media was building that community through the black secularist, people of color secular community. A year later, in 2012, we established 501c3 status, and we had about 10 core members, of which I was part of. And that was the right time for us to now start developing BSLA, creating the 501c3. We came up with a mission and some activities that were aligned with Sikivu's mission for BSLA. What was important here and what I liked about this group was that even though Sikivu was the founder, she allowed us to be creative and she encouraged us to be leaders. And I think, of course, Sikivu was a teacher, so it comes with the territory, and it was great. So we teamed up to do specific things. So for example, I worked on the website with Sikivu and with the web designer. A few of us got together to do the brochure. I also led the book club co-led the book club with other people. I would say that one of the most rewarding things was building camaraderie and friendships. So for example, some of the people who were core members, we would do things outside. Like one guy was my personal CPA. When I needed a place to stay because the new apartment I was moving into was being renovated still, another person was like, hey, stay by me, and she stayed at my place. And so we had that connection, and we can draw from each other to network, even on an emotional level, and also networking from a business perspective, which was really cool. So what kinds of activities did we do? One of our highlights is the First in the Family Scholarship Fund. The purpose of the First in the Family Scholarship Fund is to provide scholarships to youth who have had to deal with challenges from systemic problems in society. Every year we offer several 1,000 and 2,500 scholarships to youth of color who are generally first in their family to attend college and who are either undocumented, homeless, LGBTQ, and or system involved, i.e., for example, foster care. Some of our scholarships were awarded to the LAUSD county students. And thanks to the generous donation of the Freedom from Religion Foundation Catherine Farringer Memorial Scholarship Fund, I gotta breathe, we also provide scholarships to youth who identify as atheist, agnostic, and secular. In addition to that, we also have got additional funding from FFRF, from another donor, to actually provide additional funding. Annie Laurie is in the back, and we really appreciate your support and the support of everyone who has given from $5 to $500 to our scholarship every year. You have brochures in there, and I really encourage you. We're going to be in our 8th year next year, and we're really excited, and we're going to show you a video right now of an overview of the scholarship.
I'm Cecilia Pagan, founder of Black Skeptics Los Angeles. In a climate in which access to K-12 and higher education is under fire by the Trump administration and the conservative right, BSLA is proud to continue providing scholarships to young people who have traditionally been shut out of college opportunities. The 5th annual BSLA First in the Family Humanist Scholarship Fund provides college scholarships and support to foster care, undocumented, homeless, LGBTQ, and system-involved youth of color in partnership with secular organizations and individuals from across the nation.
Hoping for I could become an attorney and go into law school and shape public policy for underrepresented people. What this scholarship means to me is that we're no longer the leaders of tomorrow, we're the leaders of today, and something like Black Skeptics encourages us to speak up for issues that face our communities.
Hi, my name is Naila Noah. I graduated from Ramon C. Martinez with Visual and Performing Arts. I will be attending the University of Southern California in the fall. I am an English major. What I want to do in the future is I want to become a writer, an activist, and some sort of vocalist of some sort. What this scholarship means to me, it definitely helps me feel like I can achieve anything that I put my mind to. Makes me believe that no matter like what color or what sexuality or whether we're documented or not, it just helps me realize that we can go forward and do what we believe we can do. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Brian Sierra. I will go into the University of California, Los Angeles. I graduated from Carson High School. What this scholarship means to me is that anything is possible in life. If you're undocumented or non-documented, lesbian, gay, whatever you are, it don't matter what color you are either. You can do whatever you want in life.
Hi, I'm Mariana Cervantes. I'm from King Drew Medical Magnet High School. What this scholarship means to me is that it gives me an opportunity to preach what this scholarship is, which is no matter who you are and documented, it gives you an opportunity to go step out and be a leader to your community. And to give an example, as a Latina, I hope to be in the sciences and give an example to my sisters and to everybody else in my King Drew family.
My name is Colin Rotimi, and I recently graduated from North Carolina School of Science and Mathematics. I'm currently a rising freshman at Amherst College. I'm highly grateful for this scholarship, mainly because it not only allows me to represent my non-religious leanings, but it allows me to do that within the context of being a black person. Being black and being a skeptic are two things which are rarely even talked about in mainstream society, let alone supported in such an amazing way through this organization. It allows young students like myself to not only be proud of our identity, but it allows us to support our future endeavors within this context.
Hi, my name is Sabrina Herbert, and you guys selected me as one of the winners of the $2,500 scholarship. And I just want to thank you so much. And the reason this scholarship is important to me is because it recognizes a very small group of people in the world today. People of color are already a very small group in the world, and secular black people are even smaller. So it's very cool, and I'm very grateful for that, because people of color are usually seen as the most religious out of all of the groups of people that worship in the house of God, and it is looked down on if you are not. So this is something that's awesome. I think it's a great opportunity for a lot of people, and you are helping a lot of people. So I'm very thankful that I have been chosen for the scholarship. And yeah, see you guys at the reception.
So again, this is why we have to organize. Because we have to be an example to these kids. And when I get the essays, you can tell that they are looking for community, and they're looking for role models. They're looking for people like us who they can look up to. And as I tell everybody, when it comes to organizing, just start where you are. Just start with a meetup group, getting people together, and find people who are interested in, I mean, it's nice to hang out and kick it, but get people to try to organize and do something, volunteer, do little things, and you can build on that to create a community. The other thing that we do is fiscal sponsorship for the Women's Leadership Project, which is primarily run by Sikibu Hutchinson through the LAUSD system. She works with 4 schools, and each has 15 youth, women, young girls, youth per school. And it's usually done within the school semester. The Women's Leadership Project is a feminist of color mentoring, civic engagement, and service learning advocacy program designed to educate and train young and high school age women of color in South Angeles to take ownership of their school communities. The content of this curriculum is includes self-care, how to deal with issues like sexual harassment, which you'll see in one of the videos, self-empowerment, health education, teamwork projects, writing exercises, discussions on how women are represented in popular culture, networking, becoming knowledgeable about Black writers. They also facilitate conferences one is called the Future in Feminism Conference, and to see these youth get together and organize women in South LA is really amazing. I mean, this is amazing work, and we also need funding for that as well. We need to build our funding for that so we can reach more young girls. So let's play another video. This is them exploring the issue of sexual harassment and rape culture.
If you think there is a connection between the way that Black women and women of color are treated and negative media representations of women of color, step forward.
The Step Up, Step Back campaign is designed to increase awareness. So we are having our young people participate in social media campaigns, writing poems and other reflections about their experiences with sexual harassment.
We partnered with Women's Leadership Project to create the Step Forward campaign. The goal of the campaign is to engage school communities, including young Black men, to create a safer environment for young Black women to thrive in. I would say the most surprising and unsurprising thing that I heard from the girls that we work with is that sexual harassment was a daily occurrence.
Well, sexual harassment to me is tearing down anyone really, like physically by touching, mentally by calling them names.
Even a stare, because that's what makes me feel uncomfortable. If I were to talk about you in a way that's not uplifting. If you're walking down the street and a man yells across the street, "Hey, what's up, baby?" Like, just walking with like my best friend and I. So I have a straight face, like, don't talk to me, don't try anything. And I tell her to keep walking as well.
I usually don't walk down the street by myself. I would always take, a friend or be with my mom or even my brother.
Well, there are always the extreme versions as far as catcalling and, touching someone without their permission. But in a lot of relationships, people feel that those lines are blurred at that point. And so, say the girlfriend doesn't want to talk to him, and he'll still pull her, he'll still fill on her parts because he feels that that's his girlfriend and that's his right or his property. And it's still sexual harassment because she's not a willing participant in that action.
So the Women's Leadership Project is a program for African American and Latina young women. It's based in South LA. It's a civic engagement, feminist mentoring and advocacy program.
I would hope that the people who see this campaign recognize that this is an issue that we need to address immediately. This is an issue that we need to organize around.
So I had to find the courage in myself to say it's not okay. I have to stand up for myself, to stand up for my own rights because I am a human and I have equal rights just as everyone else. And so I had to stand up and tell someone about this so that this situation can stop and so that I can start feeling better about myself. You're more than just a sexual object. To know that you are a human being, you're a woman. And that it's not okay for men or just anyone to objectify you or just touch you physically however they please and whenever they please. It's not okay for that.
So the Women's Leadership Project is in 4 schools. Could you imagine if we had the kind of funding that we wanted, how we can expand this program? Yeah, this is powerful. This is powerful stuff. And it didn't happen overnight. It was building collaboration. So this is great. The other thing, a couple other things we do, and I'll wrap up in 2 minutes, is we have had discussion panels, which I was a part of. So basically, we're going out and calling, in this case it was USC, they had the Models of Pride program, which is the largest free all-day conference for LGBTQ youth, which is usually high school, senior year, and first year college. And this all-day program is a series of workshops that they go to encourage them to get involved in activism, community building, and also to network within themselves and see role models within themselves. So we had one which was about atheism and secular humanism, and I thought we were just going to have curious Christians or curious religious people, but the majority of the group were already thinking, and some of them were atheists and agnostics, so they were able to share the kind of isolation that they've had to deal with, the stuff that we have been hearing here today. We also had other panels. We had a book club. We still have a book club, which is fantastic. The New Jim Crow, we did the Sikibu's book. Sometimes it gets pretty hot in a lot of arguments, and then it dies down, and then we kick it at the end of the day. But I would say, you know, in things like this, it's also good when you're organizing to have some ground rules for people to be able to communicate in a respectful way. I know I get hot-headed, and I've had to like pull people aside and say, you know what, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to like kind of grab your neck like that, because I tend to get into the arguments. We also have fun stuff, get-togethers. So one person, we have an email list, hey, I'm going to this concert, anybody wants to come? We do stuff like that. We went to Angelique Kidjo, we saw that was a lot of fun. We have the Day of Solidarity for Black non-believers, that's a lot of fun. We go hiking, movie nights, we do documentaries, just go to museum, or just plain old kick it and have fun. And again, that was just a building, trying to get a core group of people to come consistently, but we also had people coming in and out, and that was really a lot of fun. I wanted to go through some tips, but we're kind of running out of time, so let's leave it up for questions. Or if anybody wants to ask about tips, a couple.
What are the tips?
What are the tips? Too funny. Okay, well, we can both go. I would say it's important to have a clear intention, regardless of if it's a nonprofit or not. Start, of course, with, you know, you want to start small. So have a clear intention of what you want and create a mission on your own to decide where you want to go. One of our challenges was we got a lot of people coming in and out because they just needed to have, to know that there were other Black atheists around. But they weren't always interested in doing a lot of social justice work. So I think looking back, the way I would do it is if I am actually reaching out to people to clearly state what my intention of the meetings are, so people wouldn't be, you know, like, oh, I think we should do this and that. That's a big thing, you know, and then all of a sudden nobody shows up. But if it's just to kick it, then make it like that. I would say, you know, do a lot of advertising. There's Meetup, Facebook, word of mouth. You can table at events to get people. There are free places where you can get tabling, like we have the Black Writers, it's like a street fair. You can just set up a table, have some, you know, brochures like this, one flyer, so you can get people to sign up, and then use that to build your email list to get people to come and organize. And this is not just through Black Skeptics. I've been organizing for the past 10 years, politically, non-politically, and so on. When you have meetings, when you create a core group of people that you know are serious and are showing up, I would suggest having a few ground rules if you're seeing that people are having trouble communicating. But not, I would say only do that if you see that there's usually one or two that maybe want to talk more or tend to be a little more high-strung, like me. So, you know, I've had to rein that in, and over the years I've now learned how to, you know, be able to express myself without attacking somebody who says, well, you know, we just need to look at religion like it's just another thing like atheism. And I'm like, no. You know, now I don't do that kind of stuff. You know, I'm not trying to be that militant atheist I used to be, at least when I'm doing outreach stuff. And also get people excited. If you are leading an organization, get people excited. If you're not that type of personality, then look for people who are interested. Like, for example, Sikibu's personality is not the get up and, hey! But there were people in the group who did that. There was one person, she ran the meetup, and she was more the social person. So try to look for people to connect with and understand your personality and their personality, and try to fit, kind of reach out to them and say, hey, you look like somebody who's more interested in doing this, you're more a computer person, you're more whatever. So those are some of the things. It's important, I would say, to tap into yourself, know what your strengths are, know what your personality is, because in organizing you need to be able to do that. And also know what your triggers are, like we talked today, and how to deal with your triggers, because you're going to meet a lot of people. We had a situation in which we had a big debate on whether to have white people or not in our group. And what Sikibu did was we got together, we talked about it, and then we had an anonymous vote. And it was great. Anonymous because not everybody necessarily may have wanted to be honest. But I think that kind of stuff is important. What I would have done looking back was then have somebody who was moderating or mediating if we have that kind of skill. And that way it wouldn't turn out to be a big fight. Because I was very adamant about not having white people in the group for a lot of reasons that I can't go into. So.
Well, just going to ask you to speak out. Speak out whenever you can. You don't have to, we're not trying to deconvert people or convert them into atheism, like they say. But speaking out, somebody else might hear you and will get interested. And we have been avoiding confrontation for a really long time, and I think it's time to speak out.
Okay, I think we're going to have to adjourn because we have the next session in the other hall. Thanks so much.